Welcome everyone to ImaginativeVisions.com. This is Gaming Central. Justin here, back with another review. And today, friends, we are going to be talking about the indie game Fantasy Network that is developed by Raven Travel Studios. So let's talk first about the story. So here's a brief overview of the story before I get into story, gameplay, graphics, sound, and of course my final rating. So let's talk about the story. So the story synopsis reads as this: Lynn Morning is officially ruined. Her mother has been kidnapped. The ransom victory in the president's race. To save her family, Lynn must win vicious talent shows, honing her skills to a razor's edge, travel through colorful lands of Hoola, battle bizarre enemies, make friends across her journey, and dig up the ancient truth buried beneath the world's shiny surface. And that's pretty much the overview when it comes to the actual story. Now, this is more of a Metroidvania type of game. So, story, to be honest with you, in this game is kind of light. Where Fantasy Network becomes more interesting is through its world building, and a surprisingly amount of information about Hoola is discovered simply by playing the game. Talking with NPCs and paying attention to what's happening around you, characters will discuss locations, history, rumors, and other people living in the world. And sometimes what initially seems like a random conversation leads you towards something you can actually investigate. That approach gave Hula a much more believable feeling because the game does not simply stop every minute to explain its history through massive exposition and cutscenes and things of that nature. You had to really kind of you're pretty much dumped into the world, and if you really want to go more detailed, more than what the core story is offering, really start trying to befriend a lot of the NPCs, visit the museums, visit the locations, talk to the locals in that particular area to get a real scope of the actual story. One of the examples comes through their social media system where conversations about whether people can be converted into paintings references a painting located inside a particular museum. And that small interaction gives another location additional contents because it creates another reason to explore it. So moments like that are why I found myself becoming more invested in this particular world. It's not the traditional way of what I'm looking for when in terms of storytelling, but in this type of open world kind of Metrovania game, it actually works because you have to really kind of go more deeper into the lore yourself and you experience things firsthand, which I thought worked very, very well. Now, let's talk about the gameplay because gameplay is where Fantasy Network surprises me the most because there is so much happening here than simply platforming through environments and fighting enemies. Exploration is key. Exploration forms the foundation, but Raven Travel Studios keeps adding different mechanics, activities, and small distractions that give you reason to interact with the world simply than just coasting through it. The talent competitions are the major part of the story. As Lynn works her way through the president's race, she participates in different activities involving things such as cooking, racing, dancing, and there's other mini games as well. And these become some of my favorite sections because they break up the normal exploration and combat loop and constantly change what the game is asking you to do. That variety fits the personality of Fantasy Network extremely well, and you might spend one portion of the game exploring new regions, fighting a few enemies, discovering the objective of an NPC, and then suddenly find yourself participating in something completely different. And because the game changes the activity, I really felt like it was repeating the same gameplay loop over and over. But don't get us twisted. There are moments in here where you might feel like it gets repetitive, especially when it comes to the contest, because you have to go from race to race or contest to contest. And honestly, it still works very, very well. But I will say what's really more impressive with this particular game is the use of Lynn's phone. Lynn's phone is one of the most smartest ideas in Fantasy Network, and in a way, Lynn's phone becomes a central piece, or I will say an essential piece of gameplay, because rather than functioning as a traditional menu, With this smart design app, the phone contains apps for fantasy networks such as Fantasy Network, Note Writer, Winrose Maps, Screen Time, Instaheart, just to name a few. And the Note Writer acts as your objective tracker, but even that is integrated into the world in a way that you'll enjoy. Sometimes objectives come from flyers, conversations, or information you discover while exploring, which sends you towards places, museums, competitions, and other locations through Hoola. And then instead of every objective feeling like another marker dumped on the map, the game frequently makes it feel like you're actually learned something about the world that you are wanting to investigate. The Winrose Wrap gives you the location navigation, GPS, the larger map. So it's there to just to show you where everything is at. It's just a map, to be honest with you with that. And then you have Fantasy Network and social media. This is where you really get a lot of the world building because it allows you to browse through conversations, organize around such subjects as books, fashion, food, games, movies, music, and sports. And characters that you meet and that you add to your social media, they begin to interact with you. They respond to what posts you do. And I thought that works very, very, very well. And not to mention, there's also Lynn is able to take selfies, and she's also to watch movies that she sees or she picks up on does cost coins, and she's able to get more better understanding for her posts once she starts to study and learn these things. And none of these systems, to be honest with you, are incredibly deep individually, but together they create a lot more to do in a convincing sense of culture. Like there's really some really strong world building here in this particular game, which I definitely welcome. Now, in terms of exploration, upgrades, and the stores, progression is another area where the game becomes more interesting as you continue playing because throughout the game you can visit stores that allow you to purchase equipment, upgrades, including the 3D Smith Ford shop where you can obtain different attachments for Lynn's umbrella. Yes, Lynn's weapon is an umbrella here. And one example is the drill top, which provides additional combat capabilities, which allow Lynn to destroy ice and rock blocks. And that is where the Metrovania influence becomes more clear because upgrades are not simply about dealing more damage. They can change how you interact with environments and allow you to access areas that were previously blocked. And I highly recommend that when you play to continue to upgrade, get new skills because you will encounter enemies that do some major damage on your heart, and the tougher the enemy, the more coins you get. And you can't buy anything without coins. You can't fast travel without coins. You can't sleep in inns or hotels without coins. So going through the Metrovania places which you encounter when you're going, if you don't want to do fast travel, you can go through actual woods and various locations and beat up enemies. And by the time you get to the town and you finish exploring, you should have enough money for that new area that you are going to either do competition and various other things. Now, in terms of some side stories and side quests and things like that, one thing I really did like is that they actually Raven Travel Studios has a previous game which is called Hula's Arcade Connection, and one of my favorite details involves four arcade cabinets located through the world, and some machines contain games such as their legit game that they released in 2023. Part of that collection is Don't Mess with Rick, which is truly the standout if you ask me. And this is a action beat 'em up, and I was just like, wow, I love when games do that. I love when games have games within a game. I love little details like that because for me, it feels like the world is much more bigger, much more expansive. Now, in terms of combat, I will have to say this is where it could have been a little bit more refined, especially when it comes to the jumping in a platformer. I felt that the combat felt a little bit more stiff, to say the least. The mechanics are not bad, but both feel very stiff, particularly when it comes to jumping, when it comes to blocking precisely. It just doesn't feel as comfortable as the mini games. And it has, I will have to say, that's probably one of my biggest issues here is that she has a normal attack. She can pick up things that she collects on the way to throw at animes, blocking with different umbrella attachments. But I felt that the combat could have been a little bit more refined in that particular aspect, and that's pretty much what I have to say in terms of the gameplay. So let's talk about the graphics because graphically, Fantasy Novel is gorgeous. The game uses an incredible bright and vibrant color palette that immediately gives it personality. Like this game is beautiful. Love the art style of this. I immediately when I saw the trailer, I was like, "Oh, I gotta either buy this, or if I'm get blessed with a review copy, I'm definitely gonna be doing that." So the world map alone gives you this idea of how much visual variety Raven Travel Studios packed into the game. You travel through places, and you just get to see different things such as caves, forests, and each location has its own personality, own atmosphere, and it's almost like an animated television quality to the presentation, especially with the character designs here. And I played, if you want to know how was the frame rate and everything else, I played this on my PC, my laptop PC, which is a Dell G16 76030, and it's running on Windows 11 Home. So this is a 13 generation Intel Core. So for those who want to know the logistics, I'm also running on a 16 gig RAM, which I will be eventually upgrading soon anyway. But on that system, the performance is extremely smooth through my playthrough. The frame rate remained stable throughout the entire game. Had no issues with no hiccups or anything. If there was any type of stutter, it was definitely on my end. I probably had too much things open or I had multiple games running at the same time. But my system is considered powerful in today's world, but there's way more powerful systems out there. But for the most part, guys, the graphics were really great. In terms of sound, love the music, especially when you go into stores. They actually have music playing, like singers and artists. I thought that was a really nice touch. Sound was great. Um, really, really good soundtrack. Definitely fits the world, fits the tone. So we are going to end this with our final rating. So we're going to bring up the power bar. Excuse me. Oh my gosh, I can't talk today. The power up bar meter, and I'm going to give Fantasy Network a level up. This is an excellent, engaging, and rewarding experience. I would say if you're looking for a more refined Metroidvania combat style game, you might want to lower your expectations, but the combat is still fun. It's serviceable, but the real heart of this is the world building, the story, the mini games. They offer you so much different genres and gameplays in here that this is definitely a hidden gem on Steam. And for the price that is being offered here with the game at 14.99, you really can't go wrong here. So I would highly recommend Fantasy Network. It's a sleeper gem. Definitely check this one out. This is Justin from ImaginativeVisions.com. This has been a Gaming Central. Comment below. Let me know what you think of Fantasy Network. And as always, I'll catch you on the next review. Later days.